I'm extremely excited to be sharing what I'm going to share with you tonight. It's something that I've been talking about for a lot of years. It's something that I'm very happy that I figured this out in my teens and then got to live through it. Part of it was just figuring out through my own experiences and observations. Part of it was having really, really good mentors that taught me about forming relationships. And what I'm going to share with you is not just opinion. In fact, it comes from my own personal experience, the experience of people who have mentored me, and there's also some ties to psychology as well. This is an excellent book. It's called Evolutionary Psychology. It's a textbook written by Dr. David Buss. I'm going to be borrowing some of his thoughts tonight, as well as wisdom from a lot of different places. So don't let evolution throw you if you're not an evolution person. It's okay. What I'm going to share with you is going to be very practical. But before we get into all that, here's what needs to happen. I need all of you here tonight. First of all, before we get into it, everybody type ready. Because what I'm sharing with you tonight, you got to be in the right frame of mind to make it click. So in the comment section, I want even you introverted, shy people who like to lurk, I want you to type ready. And as I see it coming in, thank you very much. Ready Freddy. See, Johnny Ramos isn't just ready. He is ready Freddy. So I know he's ready. That's all right. Diamond Tree says not ready. That's okay, Diamond Tree. I am thoroughly aware of your... Let's see. Why is Diamond Tree typing not ready twice? We got it, brother. Always ready, says David's Den. Good. Now that you're ready, however you visualize, I'm not going to get hyper weird on you, but however you visualize things, I want you to do it. So let me go ahead and say something real quick so that there's no more distractions. Diamond Tree, if this isn't your jam, you got two options. You can stick around and see if it's your jam, or you are more than welcome. I'm not going to take it as rude if you bounce. All right? So I got you. That said, however you visualize, if you close your eyes, if you keep your eyes open, I don't care. But I want you to get in your mind what is, and this doesn't matter if you're single, if you're dating, if you're married already, it applies to everyone here that's watching. I want you to get in your mind, and if you're like me, sometimes I usually like to close my eyes so that I can picture the things out and not be distracted by what's going on in the room. But I want you to picture for me, just for a second, what does your perfect, or as close to perfect as is humanly possible, relationship look like? And the reason why I want you to picture it is because for every person, that's going to be slightly different. So it's not my place or my desire to sit here and tell you exactly what right looks like, because for each one of you, we're all wired differently. So I want you to get in your mind whatever that vision is of the relationship. And this is a relationship where you are seriously happy with it. So in your mind, what I want you thinking about is, what does that happy relationship look like? Okay? And so some of you should be having pictures in your mind that are bringing you a little bit of joy now. Right? You're thinking, yeah. And so the reason I need you to focus on that is because if you don't go into situations with the proper mindset, then the mindset is the foundation of everything that you are trying to build. I don't care if it's a relationship, it's a career, it's being a stronger person in the gym, it's being more psychologically comfortable. I want you to get in your head, what does that relationship look like? What does that man or that woman look like? What does you spending time together look like? Right? And what does happiness look like to you? Because all of that's going to become important in the discussion that we are going to have tonight about how I believe, all right? I say believe because I can't say this as an absolute fact, but I've seen enough evidence to believe that I am right. And if you feel so inclined, you can type in the comment section what that looks like to you. What is the vision of your happy relationship? Okay? When you think about what you truly want, that makes you happy. You can describe that for me. And so, right off the bat, what I want you to spend the rest of your time away from this call in your normal life doing is, many of us have been conditioned, and in some cases I'd say this isn't on accident because this is how companies sell you stuff. You've been conditioned to focus on what you do not have. Like, have you ever seen a BMW commercial that tells you about a BMW that you already have? Or does it show you a BMW that you don't have and then make you want it, right? So what I want you to do going forward, when you're thinking about the place you want to be in your life, I don't want you thinking about where you are and being disappointed with that. Whether you're in a disappointing relationship, or like Sir Jackson was talking about, going through a divorce or at least a separation. I can't remember if you said divorce, but I don't want your mind stuck in where you are. I want your mind focused on where you want to be, that happy place that you want to be in, right? Because if you keep your mind focused on where you are, what you don't have, what you're upset about, what you're bitter about, how are you going to develop the confidence and the courage to take the steps necessary? And I'm not talking about like some hyper spiritual, the secret stuff. I'm talking about literal, practical. How are you going to take the necessary steps to win if all you're focusing on is how bad you're losing? Right? Do you think Tom Brady, when he came back to win the Super Bowl, was thinking about, oh, we're down X amount of points. Oh, I'm so angry that we're down. Oh, man, we're down. We're down. We're down. If he had kept thinking that, they would have stayed down. No, I am guaranteed he got those troops together and says, look, we're winning this game no matter what it takes. Short of taking somebody off this earth, we're going to win this game. Whatever it takes, we do it. Break. And then they went out there and they just handled business, because you're dealing with a leader who has been conditioned to win. And so many of us have been conditioned to lose. Unfortunately, a lot of that starts with our parents, and it starts in school, because our parents, it's not because our parents wanted to hurt us or abuse us or hold us back. It's because they were scared and afraid and nobody taught them. And you live at the level you're taught and you pass that on. Okay? You've been taught, if you were like me and you weren't necessarily the best student in school, I remember my teacher sitting me down saying, are you sure you want to study computer science when you get to college? Because you really didn't do well in math and science in school. I don't know if you'd be able to perform. And I threw up the middle finger and went and did computer science anyway. So I need you consciously in your mind, because some people will tell me, how do I overcome a thing in my mind? And the bottom line is, you make a choice. You make a choice and you stick to it. And you keep the thoughts out of your mind that are holding you back. That I can't do it. That I'm lonely, or I'm afraid, or I'm not confident. You're going to continue to be confident the more you keep talking like that. What I want you to keep in the front of your mind is the goal, not the. It's like there's an old scripture actually from the Bible that says, I'm not focused on the things of the past. I'm pressing on toward the goal. It was the Apostle Paul that said that. I'm pressing on toward the goal. I am focused on the goal, the legacy, the end game, not where I am today. Right? And the more you can focus on the goal, and so when I think it was, who wrote it in the comments about, I think it was it Latasha that was talking about, or J Dove talking about working out in the gym. If she gets in front of that mirror every night and looks at herself where she is, she's going to become discouraged. What I tell people all the time when they're training to get in better shape is only look at yourself once a month. Because if you're looking every night, nothing is changing. So it's discouraging, because you're looking at, oh man, I need to cut up, or oh, my arm, like me, I've always had trouble making my bicep, like triceps are freaking monstrous. I've always struggled to have bigger biceps for whatever reason. Not so much now, because I figured some things out. But if I continue to look at myself in the mirror every night, like, once a month you look. And every other time I'm thinking about what I want to look like. And when I'm in the gym, I'm visualizing what I want to look like. Right? Especially on the days when I'm tired and I don't want to do it. All right, so that's the first thing. It's keeping your mind in the right place, focused on the goal, right? And as some of you thought of those things, I will bet you money that your mood immediately changed, because your feelings are driven by what you think. And so many of you, one of my mentors, a guy named Ty Lopez, you may have seen some of his silly commercials on YouTube. Rest assured, he's a beast. That kitschy stuff he does on YouTube is just to get attention. But he uses a term called you're being, and forgive me if language bothers some of you. Hopefully you watched my There Are No Bad Words video before I say this. But he tells people you're being the bitch of your own brain. You're being the bitch of, like, you are letting your brain beat you down when you should be controlling what's going on in there. Right? So I want you in that right frame of mind. I want you focused on the goal, not on where you are, not on where you were, not focused on the things that are bothering you. Because you're going to have things that bother you. But the more you stay focused on those, that's going to pull you down and depression and cause you to want to go binge watch Game of Thrones when you should be working on yourself. Because make no mistake, if you don't develop yourself, how are you ever going to expect to attract somebody else? I mean, you attract what you are. Like, if you're not working on yourself, you think all that stuff you wrote down you're gonna attract. If you're not becoming that, at least becoming it, even if you're not there yet. I mean, I haven't arrived. I'm not perfect, but I'm pretty squared away. I can't expect to attract a wife like the one I have if I'm not squared away. Like, just because I'm a nice, like, it kills me how many dudes I've dealt with over there. But I'm a nice guy. Like, what the hell does that mean? You think women are sitting around talking about, I just want him to be nice. I just want a nice one. Of course not. You attract what you are. So if you want to attract something, you better at least be working towards becoming it. Right? So, and like I said, if you guys are leaving me questions now, I'm probably missing all of them because I'm talking. But I will give some time for Q&A at the end. If you did write a question and I didn't answer it, feel free to repost it once we get to that point. Now let's get into the meat of the discussion. This idea that falling in love is a lie. Let me be very clear, because you could play semantics with what I'm saying. You could start playing with the words and say, well, this means that, that means this. Let me be very specific about what I'm talking about. This idea that you are going to meet a girl or you are going to meet a guy and you're going to fall in love with him. In other words, you saw them and you were attracted to them. And then, like, I hear people say, I'm developing feelings for them. That's not the lie. Like, yes, you are developing feelings because your feelings are following the thoughts that you're keeping in your mind about this person. But this idea that love and a lasting relationship and a marriage is something that you could fall into is idiotic. Because, and again, it's how you use the word. So if you use falling in love to mean the reality, it's fine. I don't want people playing semantics with me tonight. But if you think 15 years of a happy marriage is something that I fell into, like I just lucked out. I just met this girl who was amazing, and then now we're living happily ever after because I was lucky and I fell into it. You just fell in. Like, it just came together perfectly, and you two were a perfect match for each other, and you just came together, and your feelings and butterflies and honeymoons and unicorns and rainbows and all the other nonsense that people talk about. Right? Ladies, turn off The Bachelor. For the love of Christ in heaven, please. Cut it out. And then, Mom, if you're watching, you too, cut off The Bachelor. Because the foolishness that's going on those channels where people are pitching this idea of this is how love works. I mean, I don't get angry so much anymore, but I used to. Over that type of stuff. And I'm being somewhat figurative, but I'm being literal too. Like, if you watch The Bachelor, stop it. Like, it's time to grow up, kids. Seriously. But I'm also being figurative. The Bachelor is case in point what I'm talking about. These people meet at a house, and I don't know how long the seasons are, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it is, weeks later they're getting married. Are you effing kidding me? Like, and you buy into that because you've been told that this fairy tale marriage, like, I've seen women care more about their stinking wedding than developing the relationship with the dude they're marrying. And then we wonder why we get down the road 8, 10, 20 years later and it's like, I hate this person. Well, probably It might have something to do with the fact that the dress you wore to your effing wedding was more important to you than actually fostering a relationship with another human being. And if I'm sounding a little tough, that's okay. It's tough love. It's coming from a place of love. All right? It's not coming from a place of judgment. I've made enough mistakes of my own. Right? So this love at first sight is really just infatuation. This falling in love is really just infatuation. In fact, in evolutionary psychology, the book that I was talking about, and you can get this book used if you don't want to buy it new because it's very expensive. They talk about science has been trying to capture what human beings, or at least Americans, call love, because other cultures, like if you look at where our word for love comes from the Greek, there's more than one word for it. And like if you read the Bible, for example, it uses the word love in English. There's like several different words that love is just replacing. And so that familial, butterfly feeling, scientists have been trying to figure out what is that. And really what the book says, it's boiled it down to, is they hooked up an fMRI machine, basically a machine that can track what your brain is doing when you're feeling things. What they figured out was this feeling of love was really, and I'm going to oversimplify it because I'm not a evolutionary psychologist or a neurologist, but essentially what the scientists have found thus far, because they haven't done a ton of testing. Now, I've done testing in my own life, so I have some data to back it up, but I'm just one person. But what they found is that this feeling of love is really just dopamine being released into the brain. The same drug that releases into the brain when you take drugs, or you drink alcohol, or you get a new set of armor in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Same thing. It's all the same. And so what people have become, and that's really what Ty was getting at when he was talking about people being the bitch of their own brain, he was saying you've become dopamine addicts. Right? It's why, if you need a practical example, have you ever played solitaire on your computer and you played it for, like, you had to keep playing it until you beat it? That's how it's engineered. Oxytocin, there we go. So this idea of falling in love is really just infatuation. Now, here's the cool part. There's nothing wrong with that feeling. What I've got to get everyone to understand is that feeling in and of itself is not telling you that this is the man for you or this is the woman for you. It's telling you that there's a physical attraction here and perhaps an emotional attraction as well if they have a personality that jives with you. In a video I did earlier this week talking about how to have your cake and eat it too, and I did a video about how, I did kind of a tongue-in-cheek video that says, ladies, your bad relationships are your fault. I was kind of joking with the title, but the point was, you attract what you are and you repel what you're not. I repel quite a few people because I'm very in your face and direct. Like, I'm not sugarcoating anything, or I'm not worried about how sensitive you are to people using certain language. I don't have time for that, man. I don't have time for people's hypersensitivity. And if they're hypersensitive, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying I'm not going to adjust myself so violently so that I can fit into a comfortable mold for people that need me to walk on eggshells. I'm just not going to do it. So, again, I'm not saying there's a problem with infatuation. What I'm saying is you're using infatuation and you're calling it falling in love, and then you wonder why 3 months, 6 months later he cheated on you, or she cheated on you, or now you're fighting with one another. I mean, I've literally watched people come together and then they start fighting and they're like, I think I should still marry her. Like, what? How's that the conclusion you came to? Because you're infatuated and now you have a physical and emotional bond with someone that you have not built the foundation of a happy marriage or relationship with, which, by the way, is friendship. I got a new video coming out later, probably in September, I think is when this one will come out. If I'm thinking of my video schedule properly, that's called The Friend Zone is Exactly Where You Want to Be. Excuse me. Pardon me. So, the video, and the thing I love about live shows is you get to hear, the reason why you should keep coming on live shows is you will hear me talk about things that everyone else will have to wait a month to hear, because I'll just tell you here. And you also should be following me on Facebook. I post things on Facebook that I don't post here because I know people on Facebook will actually watch them. Like, I know it works on YouTube at this point. I've been doing it long enough to where I know when a video is going to probably hit. I'm not always right, but I know specifically when a video is going to tank because it's just the way the system works. But I'll put it on Facebook. Like, I have a video right now that I posted last night that I think is pushing 1,000 views, and I only have a couple hundred followers. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for the blessings. I receive them all. So what I've got to get you to understand, and the point of the video is the friend zone is exactly where you want to be. Because I had a crush on this girl, and let me back up. She had a crush on me, and I was so dense and insecure that I didn't pick up on it. Then I developed a crush on her. Again, infatuation. This isn't love. And I remember her telling me literally that she loved me, which I still was too insecure. It's like, oh, she probably just means that like a friend. It's just cool. I don't know. She couldn't possibly love me. So all the stuff I talk about being insecure, and I'm not talking from a place of judgment like I'm better than you. I'm talking about it because I've lived through it. I have been it. I know what it smells like. I know what it feels like too, and it sucks. And then the day where finally I got up the courage to approach her, she had decided that, oh, we're just friends now. And I see you like a brother, and I could never do that. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. All the love that you professed to me just in that little short amount of time evaporated into the friend zone. And what that really, I mean, you're talking about two teenagers that have no idea about anything. So it's cool, not like bitter about it. But my point is, neither one of us understood at that point in our lives how to properly build a relationship. When you're 16, you probably shouldn't know any of that. Unless you have really good parents who are teaching you that. I know I'll be teaching my kids the reality. But the friend zone that everyone's so afraid of. Now, granted, this advice is predicated on the idea that you want to be married one day. Like, if you're in the hit it and quit it brigade, then you can just leave my channel now, because I'm not giving anybody life tips on how to just go bang a bunch of women or men. Sorry, it's not my life. I don't think it's healthy to just be out there throwing seed all over the place, or eggs, ladies. Sorry, I want to be inclusive. It was one of those things where friendship is the foundation of a proper relationship, of a healthy relationship, of a happy relationship. And that further drives home the point that you're not going to fall into love. Let me give you a real life example about not romantic love, but love in its purest form. In his book on killing or on combat, I can't remember which one it was, but Colonel Dave Grossman, who's an advisor of mine, wrote two very important books. If you're a military veteran, I think it should be mandatory reading before they let you leave the military. But in the book, he talks about, it's interesting that you can often find soldiers after they've been through war, especially like with the World War II and Vietnam generations. And I think our generation who's been through war will experience this too. And I know I've experienced this personally to a degree, not quite the extreme that I'm getting ready to share with you. But he says he found it interesting that when observed that men who had been through war together, in some cases, had a stronger bond of love, okay, than those men had with their children or wives. And that's hard to hear, because you're theoretically supposed to love your wife and kids more than anything on the earth. But and David Grossman is a PhD in psychology, like he's the dude, right? What they figured out through observation and through testing, experimentation, and just observing the world is the way we look at love is off, because we look at it as this feeling that we have toward other people. Let me be very clear. Love has nothing to do with feeling. Not the love we're talking about. You know, there are types of love, like eros is a word from the Greek that English translates into love, but it's where the word erotic comes from, like physical attraction or lust, right? So Colonel Grossman talks about finding that very interesting. But what psychology has really figured out is that where real love comes from, and I'll explain what real love is here in a second, where real love comes from is when two people go through something hard together and they need each other. And Nicole Renee just said agape, exactly right. Where true agape comes from, right? And Pascal says phileo, excellent. That's the familial, the friendship, the brotherly love. But we're talking about agape here, right? Where that actually comes from is when two people go through something really, really challenging together and they need each other. They need each other in order to survive it or to get through it. And then when they get to the other side, the bond is like this. I'm telling you right now, I got a message from one of my guys that I fought in combat with tonight who says, hey, sir, and he called me sir. I was like, I'm not used to being called that anymore. But it was cool. He's like, hey, sir, this is, I won't use his name if he doesn't want his business in the streets. But he's like, hey, this is your boy. I got a guy that's one of our officers getting ready to leave the military. You had made a post on Facebook that says if any veterans getting ready to get out of the military and go civilian, that you'll talk to anybody and help them make the transition, which I did. I volunteer. I will help. And if any of you watching me are a veteran and you are either getting ready to leave the military or you're struggling after you have left, I will call you on the phone. We'll figure it out. But he's like, hey, here's his number. Give him a call. And I was like, done. I will call him tomorrow, either before or after. I'm meeting with some of my clients tomorrow to do a live call like this one, but in our private area. And as soon as that call is over, I'm calling this guy. Why? Because one, I have love for the man that sent me that message, because he and I went through battle, literally getting people trying to kill us together. If he called me on the phone right now, tonight, it was like, hey, I need help, this call would be over. Why? Because me and this individual have formed a bond of love. Now, you can call it a lot of other things that's more comfortable to say because it doesn't sound all weird, because Americans are the most homophobic people on the freaking planet. Go spend some time in the Middle East, right? Go spend time and look at how men embrace each other there. Go do it. Because all this macho BS that we've been living through since the 1980s is nonsense here. Okay? Two men expressing legitimate love for one another is not some type of homoerotic nonsense. It's two men who truly have been through something showing each other respect. And if he called me on the phone tonight on this call and says, I need help, this call would be over because I love that man, right? Because we've been through something together. Same thing goes for my wife. We have been through a lot of hell this past 2 years, okay? I lost my dad, right? Our youngest baby has had to have a surgery and then had a seizure and had to be taken out of this house in an ambulance. We've been through a little bit of hell, okay? And on the other side of it, now that we're on the other side of a lot of it, our bond is even tighter. Friends, that's what love is. It's not the butterflies and unicorns and rainbows that you're dreaming about on your special day. And by the way, I'm not trying to bring rain clouds to your special day. I believe that you should have a special day. But the special day is just the beginning of the adventure. It's not the end game. And so many of us are stuck on the dream of the butterflies and the feelings and the nonsense you've been watching in movies and Game of Thrones and The Bachelor, that you think that has anything to do with what real love is. Try having a wife bring your child down the stairs of your house after he's turned a little bit blue because he's having a seizure, right? Tell me where the butterflies and unicorns are there. But the thing I appreciate and love and respect about my wife is she kept her cool. I'll tell you, my wife could be a Navy SEAL without question. She brought the baby down. She's like, hey, get on the wire, call the people. Baby's having trouble. I'm going to lay him out, keep him calm. Now, all my other children were screaming and crying. My mother-in-law was with us. She was crying. My wife was a freaking assassin. Like, I got the baby. I'm going to keep him safe. I'm going to make sure he's breathing, rub his back, rub his tummy. You get on the wire. I'm on the wire, 911. Here's the deal. Here's what's going on. In fact, funny story, when my father passed, it's weird to start with funny story and then talking about my father dying. But one of the EMTs that responded to my dad as he was coming down the stairs after they pronounced my dad had passed, He's like, hey man, I think I know you. Didn't I take your baby to the hospital a couple of months ago? And it's funny when you look back on it, because it's like, man, we've gone through a lot in these last couple of months. But the point, friends, is, do you think some chick that you were just sleeping with and you got some feelings for is going to get you through that? It's going to get you through combat? What? Come on, man. Falling in love is nonsense. It's selling you, and I said this on Facebook. I pray to God you guys and ladies are following me on Facebook, because there's so much I can say there that I can't say on YouTube. It's not that I can't say on YouTube, it's that I won't waste my breath saying it on YouTube, because YouTube's too busy trying to chase fidget spinners and freaking slime and PewDiePie. If I say it on Facebook, I can actually get it in front of some people. And I can on YouTube too, it just takes longer. But there's certain things I do on Facebook that aren't videos, and YouTube sucks as a social platform. It just does. Well, comparatively. And YouTube is amazing, let me be clear, because some people get in their feelings when I say that. Why are you being so negative? I'm not. Compare Facebook to YouTube and you tell me which one's easier to get in touch with people. But the point is, I posted today, you have to think about what you're feeding your brain. You have to do that. And it's just like, basically what I said was, I quoted Gary Vee, and I said, I can't have the most followers if I'm doing my job right, because the truth doesn't sell as well as the illusion of happiness. And what The Bachelor is selling you, friends, family, is the illusion of happiness. You think those people on that show are happy? I tell you what, I will shut my mouth about The Bachelor the minute one of those couples ends up getting married and then they live happily ever after for 20 plus years. Then I'll say, okay. Actually, no, I still won't shut my mouth, because it'll be one couple out of however many they put through this stupid show. We're addicted. We, not just you all, me too. But you can overcome it. We're addicted to the illusion of happiness. And you want to know why we're addicted to falling in love and the illusion of happiness? Do you want to know why that is? It's because it's easier. It's easier to live a happy marriage through watching actors on television than it is to go through the sweat, the blood, the tears, the babies having seizures on the floor, your wife driving you to your parents' house after your father's died. It's easier than going through the real thing. It's easier than going through what it actually takes to build love with another human being. A wise couple told me when I was 20 years old, and I always kept this with me, and it's been absolutely true. They says your marriage is supposed to get stronger as you get older. And specifically, they were like, and by the way, sex gets better as you stay married longer. That's not what they tell you on TV. TV tells dudes, oh, you need to trade in the old model, get this young chick. Why? Because her body parts are in better shape than your wife's? Word? Like, that's why I gotta go to a hotel somewhere? And it's selling us that illusion. Again, no judgment. All right, but it's selling us the illusion of happiness, that somehow that's going to make me happy. And for men, it's playing on men's ego, because we've been conditioned to be prideful little ego monkeys, right? And so it's easier to buy into the illusion of happiness, because we don't have to do any work. That's why porn is so pervasive, because there's no work involved. It's a lot easier to watch two people get it in. And I know from personal experience there too. I ain't judging anybody. But you can overcome it. The reason why it's so powerful is because it's so much easier to watch two people pretend to be intimate than it is to actually build intimacy with your wife. I know that story well. Okay, but I can guarantee you, because I've been on both sides of it, building the intimacy with your wife is 1,000, if not 1,000,000 times more fun. It just takes a little more work. It just takes a little more work. Okay? And what most people aren't willing to do is put in the work. And it's because we have become conditioned to be soft. We've become conditioned to be soft. And it's not all our fault, okay? We live in a country where we don't have the problems that a lot of other countries, including this one over 100 years ago, had, that made people have to be strong. You know, when you're in war, you're in the middle of a firefight, you can't just say, I'm scared and so I'm not going to participate, because you'll be dead. So somewhere, and it was funny, I was on a trip this past week, and I got all the kids on the trip together, all the teenagers, because actually I was doing some research on social media. I was trying to figure out what all the teenagers were up to. Strangely enough, I think Twitter may see a resurgence amongst minority young children. Anyway, I got them all together, and now I'm trying to remember where I was going with that point. It'll come to me. This is what happens when you get old and have children. So we were talking about it's harder to build real intimacy than it is to just live vicariously through other people, or to buy into this illusion. But we've become soft, and that's what I was getting at, is what I was telling these young kids was, the fact that we're soft isn't our fault. Like, our grandparents, oh no, that was the thing. One of the kids asked me, when I was in war, was I ever scared when I had to fight? And I said, every time. And he was shocked. And this kid was probably about 12 years old. He's like, but you're a warrior. Like, you're a big gun toting. Like, you're a big dude. Like, you look scary. Why were you scared? And I said, because that's human. Any place you go where you face the potential of not leaving it alive, it's going to scare you a little bit. I said, but you have to understand that bravery is not the absence of being afraid. It's doing it when you are afraid. Make sense? So we've been conditioned to be soft because our country has been prosperous for a very, very long time. It's why, just go on Twitter or any other social media platform and listen to what everybody's fussing about. Is anybody fussing over people dying? Rarely. Right? Most people are fussing over political, social issues that frankly shouldn't even be political issues. They should be human issues that we can figure out on our own, and by just being good to one another would solve a lot of that. And letting people live and stop trying to control each other. You know, it's people fussing about whatever video game they played that they thought sucked, and they think you're an idiot because you liked it. You know, people aren't really on there up in arms about real issues. Sometimes it is, but most of the time it isn't. And that's because our life is so good, relatively speaking, that we don't really understand how good we have it. So, this idea that love is just something you fall into, and because you met the right person, it just works. There's no such thing. Now, some people could argue with me, and I'd say you'd be right at least 50% of the time, that there is a right person for everybody. I don't necessarily believe that. I think there's probably a handful of other people I potentially could have married and it would have worked out. I think God would have honored my faith regardless of who I chose, as long as it wasn't someone that was, obviously bad for me. Some people believe that it's destiny. I think there's some truth to that too. I kind of believe in both. I know that's a contradiction, but it's the way the world works. The world is full of contradictions. But the point is, either way, whether it was destiny or not, no relationship is just going to be amazing because you chose the right person, or you're an INFP that chose an ESTJ. Like, God, if one more person asked me what personality type I should date, I'm going to film a video of me jumping off the Woodrow Wilson Bridge naked. Actually, no, let me not say that because someone will do it and then I'll have to keep my word. I'm not going to do that. But the point is, you have to be willing to put in the work to lay the foundation for any relationship. And I don't care if it's a romantic relationship or even if, I mean, think about your closest friends. Think about your closest friends, right? And I'm going to start pulling up something here as I land this plane. Think about your closest friends. Are they your closest friends because you chose your soulmates? It just clicks when you're together? Is that what's happening? Or are your closest friends close to you because you've put in work to show them love and respect and honor and dignity, and you've been there for them when they needed you, and they've been there for you when you needed them? You know, once upon a time when I was going through a rough patch, I had a friend call me on the phone and say, "Hey, I know you're going through this thing. Let me know if I need to send you some money." Now think about what I just said. He knew I was going through a thing, so he called me to see if I needed money. You get a friend like that in your life, you better keep them forever. You better do whatever it takes to keep them. But you won't keep them just because they're your friends. You'll put in the work, right? I've invested many, many hours and time into that friendship. So why would it be any different for a wife? Well, I'll tell you why you think it's different. It's because you've been, and I use The Bachelor as I'm using The Bachelor as a symbol. I'm not attacking The Bachelor. I am attacking The Bachelor. Stop watching it. But I'm not attacking it specifically. I'm attacking the mentality that allowed that travesty of a show to exist. And granted, some people just watch it because it's fun. I get it. Like, my mom watches it. Like, Mom, stop it, please. Read a book. But my point is, we've been conditioned in some cases to believe that that's the reality. That it's just this magical fairy tale that comes together, when nothing could be further from the truth. True love is work. Let me back that up. True love is action. It's not a feeling. True love is what you do, not what you feel. I'm going to say this last story and close. I want you to picture that it's 10,000 years ago, and you're out doing your caveman thing. I may have the times wrong. But you're out doing your things in the field 10,000 years ago. You're out hunting, and you come across some females. In that time, when survival was the end game of life, you know, right now the end game of life is transitioned into happiness, right? The end game of life now is happiness. But there was a time where it was just to survive and just to find a mate so that you could continue your bloodline and keep your DNA going, if we're to believe biologists. And I think there's some truth to it. Who would you have been attracted to back then? And why would you have gotten involved in a relationship? Was it because, and let's say not even 10,000, let's just do 5,000 years ago. Who would you have been attracted to back then? And why would you have mated with them? Well, I think it's easy to figure out that you would have been naturally attracted to someone who could support you, if you're a man, and support you with children. She was healthy, which, by the way, a sign of healthiness is not being violently overweight, for example. So part of the reason why I think people aren't attracted to people being overweight is it's a sign of unhealthiness. So it could even be biological, not just a preference, right? But you also would look for other signs of health to see if this woman could help you continue your bloodline. And then you'd be incentivized to protect her and any children that she brings you. She would be incentivized to nurture those children and to provide a nurturing environment for you, right? And potentially to even join with you in the hunts and to help you to survive. So what you're attracted to, essentially, is someone that's going to help you win at life. Now, winning at life was a lot different 5,000 years ago than it is today. But make no mistake, we are still working to win at life. It's just the stakes aren't as high today. The bad news is that our brains have not evolved much since those days. We're really not altogether different. Now, we've put other types of social layers on top of the reality. And by the way, this reality is not very fun. It's not as cute as The Bachelor, but it is real. And I'm not saying that romance and the butterflies are bad. In fact, they can be fun. And by the way, the good news, friends, if you do this right, and I'm speaking from experience, if you do this right, you can have the butterflies throughout a long-term relationship. The problem is people want them to be there forever, which isn't healthy anyway. It ebbs and it flows. Like that, right? 5,000 years later, we're not that different. And so this idea that we're falling in love with a person, I don't buy it. I just don't. Relationships have always been work. They're probably even less work these days than they were 5,000 years ago, because the work was done to survive. Now the work's just done to be happy, which is a good thing. This is all goodness, by the way. I'm not bemoaning the fact that we no longer have to be chased by saber-toothed tigers. I'm cool with it. But I don't want you to fall for the myth that love is something you are going to fall into. Love is something that you are going to build over time. And my prayer for you is that you will come to the understanding that in order to experience the joy and the happiness that you want, just like if you want to get six-pack abs in the gym, you're going to have to put in the work. It's not something that you're just going to fall into. Fair? Okay. Now, hopefully, I have not put any of you to sleep. I promised you that I was going to give you an opportunity. And yes, we're still going to take questions. It's not over. The best part of the show is coming now. We get to chat and answer questions. But before I let you go, before we get into that, take everything I just said, but go back to what we talked about in the beginning of our talk tonight. Go back to the image, because this is the best part of the show. It's just I was very excited about this part. Go back to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. The picture that was in your mind of what your perfect, ideal relationship, your perfect, ideal, fulfilling, and happy relationship look like. Close your eyes, do whatever it is you have to do to visualize it. Look up, look left, look right, whatever. Visualize what that looks like in your mind. And know that it's absolutely 100% possible if you're willing to put in the work to go get it. And you're not married to the idea of falling in love. There it is, my friends. Now, let's get into the fun part, which is the Q&A. I've rapped long enough. I didn't want to spend a ton of time talking tonight. I wanted to really get down and deep into the questions because I know you all have really been asking me some excellent ones. That said, before I start answering questions, I have a little bit more just administrative stuff to take care of. I promised you that before the show was over, I would share with you an opportunity to be able to work with me and my wife on a more personal note in what we call the marriage experience. Now, the marriage experience is a video course and an engagement course using social media and video to bring you information, knowledge, practical exercises that are going to help you build the healthiest, happiest, most fulfilling relationships that you are capable of building. Okay, this is coming from our almost 15 years of marriage, observing the marriages of the people closest to us, successful and unsuccessful. It comes from studying books, having mentors, having been through marital counseling ourselves. Okay, so I have sat with psychologists across from me and who have walked me through how to be a better person for my wife and walked her through how to be a better wife for her husband. In fact, I highly recommend premarital counseling for everybody that does it, because if you get a good one, they will help you work through a lot of the issues that you may not be aware that you have before you tie the knot, which obviously I can't do on this call because, one, I'm not a PhD who's allowed to counsel people, but the way the program works, so the benefits are obvious. It's helping you, like we start with helping you become the strongest version of yourself. And that's actually the phase of the program we are in right now. More on that in a second. Then we move into the phase of, okay, how do we actually handle the courtship? Where do I go? How do I actually establish this relationship with this magical man or woman that I want to be with? And then the third phase, at least for what we have planned thus far, it may move into 4 and 5, 7 phases by the time it's over. But the third planned phase is, now you're married, now what? Okay, now we've tied the knot and honeymoon time is over. What do we do now? How do we keep the flame alive? Right? How do we prepare for the unicorns and rainbows and butterflies to go away? How do we make them come back? What are some practical exercises we can constantly be working through? What are the books we need to be reading to constantly be becoming the best version of ourselves, so that we can bring all of that into our marriage? So if that sounds interesting to you, I'm going to post a link here in a second where you can get access to that. A couple things you need to keep in your mind. It's currently more than half of what we're going to charge once those 3 phases are actually done. We're charging half of that right now, and we may even raise the price before the 3 phases are done. But the way it works is different from most programs. Most programs, you buy it, it's like a course, right? You buy it, you log in, and then you got 90 videos that you have to sift through and watch and blah, blah, blah. Sam says, is the program just for couples? Both people participate? No. So the program is for anybody. Single, dating, married, does not matter. Now, if you bought it and you have a spouse or a girlfriend, you know, if your question is, do both of you need to buy it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So yes, if your question is, does only one of you have to buy it? Yes. Only one of you has to get it, and you can share it with one another, whether you're married or not. That's fine. And so, like, if you're dating a girl and you buy it and you're in it, and you break up with her and you get a new one, just bring her in as well. You can just share when you set up all your account and stuff, you can share the account with whomever your significant other is. But the way it works is different from most programs where you log in, like my Social Media Ninja Academy, for example, has at this point probably over 60 hours of content, and it's just video after video after video. And what I learned from doing the Social Media Ninja Academy is that most people, not all, some people are like me and they'll watch every video in the first day and be like, I want more. But most people, they take their time. They take bite-sized chunks out of it. They get what they can from it, and then they come back to it. So with this program, my wife and I decided, instead of filming all of the content and then just bombarding everybody with it once they join, when you join, at least once a month, a new video is going to come up. And the idea here is, first, some people take a little bit more time to even get to the content. So if we had 100 videos in there, it could take you a long time to get through it. And what I've noticed with programs that have a ton of videos, the day you show up, it's like you just get lost. Especially like in my programs where I'm always adding content, even after I've completed like my Social Media Ninja Academy for the YouTube program, I never have to add another video, and it's already worth 10 times more than what I charge. But I'm always adding stuff because I always want to be adding value. That's what I said in the beginning of the video. It's not about the money, it's about changing lives. So with this program, the idea was, instead of bombarding everyone and then them not watching the videos, because that's what I learned with the Social Media Ninja Academy, is I gave people so much content that like 5% of the people got through all of it. Because I can look at the data, and I'm like, I don't want to I want people to get through the content. So we're releasing at least one video a month. Sometimes we could have, like, I think this month we may even have up to 3. Like, the people in the program right now don't know, we released August's video already, which was my wife and I going through the Hexaco personality test line by line. What they don't know is that I have another video that's getting ready to come out next week. And so if you're in the program and you're watching this, you're going to get at least 2 videos in August, and I think there will even be a 3rd one that she and I are working on. But the idea here is the philosophy is not just based on people's speed. It's also based on the idea that I got from Bruce Lee, where he says, I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. And what that is about is precision and consistency. So I want people taking that one video and just obsessing over it and watching it more than once, because I've found when I go through programs, sometimes even I go through my own material because it teaches me too. I find that I learn something new every time. Like, I was going through my mentor Joe Soto's program again today. I was watching 2 or 3 videos that I'd already watched, and I caught new things. I was like, oh, I need to add that to my thing, to what I'm doing in marketing. So the idea here is that precision. Like, instead of giving you 90 videos to consume in a month, it's just 1, or sometimes we're considering maybe even bumping it up to 1 a week, but we're experimenting with it. But you're just going to have this constant flow of content every single month that you go through it, and you have access to the content for as long as you remain a member, right? And if, for example, you could cancel your membership and then come back later, there's no locked in, like, it's not like, I hate people that do it like cell phone contracts. You have to be locked in for 2 years. No, you can literally join for a month, bounce, and come back 6 months later. But the point is, it's dope. And I promise you that I would give you access to it. Those are the benefits. That's how it works. I'm posting a link to it in the comments section now. Give it a look. Check it out. Shoot me an email, or more importantly, shoot me a message, a DM on Facebook if you have more questions about it. Don't send the questions to me on YouTube. I mean, if you do, I'm going to answer them. But YouTube is a pain in the butt cheeks when it comes to actually talking to you guys and ladies. So I really encourage you. And I've been saying it. If you saw the video I put out earlier this week about no more INFP videos, which is not... I was joking when I said that, because if you're paying attention to my channel, I just released an INFP video while we were talking tonight. But the point was, Facebook is where I'm really focused for the long haul, until YouTube has a fundamental change. YouTube to me is going to become an afterthought. Okay, so Facebook is really where we need to connect. So make sure you're following me there. If you have questions about the program, you can ship them to me there, or you can email me. Either way. Now then. Uh-oh. Jolly Mage is here, and he's banning people. I have not been paying attention to the comments section. Now, so people are in here saying stuff. And Jolly Mage is on top of things tonight. I appreciate it, Jay. Or T. All right, so now that we're here, let's get into the questions, y'all. What questions dost thou havest for me tonight? I'm really pleased by the fact that none of you have left. Very pleased. So Diamond Tree says, I'm not sure I understand everything you're talking about. As well, you probably shouldn't, because I know that you are younger. But just tuck it away in your brain for when you get a little bit older, and it will start to make sense. Think of it like planting a tree. Like, when you first put the seed in the ground, the tree doesn't just sprout up. It has to take root, and then eventually the tree starts to grow. So over time, it'll make more sense to you, my friend. But I appreciate you and respect you for sticking around. Props. I have a lot of that shows a mental toughness that you stuck around even though you weren't sure that you wanted to. Kudos to you. If nothing else, you got something good out of being here tonight, because you displayed mental toughness to stick around even though you weren't sure. So pat yourself on the back, sir. That is the behavior of ninjas, and I like working with ninjas. Okay, time to get down and deep with the questions. All right. Mr. Theorizon says, I think I said that right, hopefully. So I'm a 16-year-old ENFP, and I have kind of trouble finding someone. The problem is that the more I learn about relationships, the pickier I become, and I don't know what to do now. Any advice? Yes, first of all, you're 16. Slow down. What relationship are you trying to get into? What are you going to do with a relationship at 16? I mean, now, if you're like Doogie Howser and you've graduated college already and you have a job as a doctor, maybe we can talk. But if you're 16 and still in school, people that know me know I'm not a fan of dating, especially at the younger ages. I'm not against it. I just, I learned through my own personal experience that dating most of the time is a waste of time. It's not a very popular, it's not a popular opinion. And I'm not saying I'm right. It's just what worked for me. But yeah, I think you're so young. And first of all, the thing I like about your statement is that you're becoming more picky. Good. Stay picky. Stay picky. Don't change that. It's totally like this issue with people have like, I'm just too picky. No, good. Because it means you won't settle for someone that's a herb. So I wouldn't worry about relationships right now for you. I'd worry about figuring out what it is you want to do with your life and getting squared away in school. The relationships will be there. And I understand at 16, you're going through changes and all that emotional stuff. It'll subside. Just be tough. You'll be fine. Focus on figuring out what you want to do with your life, and then when you're actually doing it, you'll be surprised how God just has a way of sending you the people you need when you're doing what you need, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. All right. Nicole Renee says, the way my cell is set up, I didn't know how to copy and paste my question. Sorry. Okay, so I think I can scroll back up to the top and find Nicole's question. If you guys will bear with me for a second, let me go find her. And I'm so sorry, folks. Sometimes I forget because I'm always on a computer when I'm doing this that a lot of you are on phones. And it's not necessarily easy to do some of the things I tell you to do. So that's my fault. That's me being an old dude. Or Nicole, you could just re-ask your question. You don't have to copy and paste it. Because I couldn't find it when I was scrolling. But if you just want to re-ask it, just go ahead and re-ask. So Diamond Tree says, what's all this personality stuff? I don't get it. All the letters people are referring to comes from what's called the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or the Myers-Briggs Personality Test. And you can go to a website called 16 Personalities. That's 16 Personalities, all one word.com. And you can take the test and it'll tell you what your personality type is. That's what everybody's talking. Excuse me. I had homemade pizza tonight. I don't eat that type of food very often. A little indigestion. Haptic Blitz says, holy crap, it all makes sense now. My brother was friends with his girlfriend for 2 years and now they've stayed together through college. Thank God I know that. I'm telling you guys, the friends, like the freaking friend zone. Enough. Like the next time someone says the friend zone, yes, you want to be in the friend zone. It's where the best relationship, every relationship I've ever had in my life that was legit good came from someone I was friends with for at least a year before we got serious. Before we became anything else, I guess is what I would say. Valhalla 22 says, dating is like giving birth. You either push through or you abort. Okay, that's one way to look at it. Smiling Bandito says he's 16. There's a good chance he doesn't know who Doogie Howser is. You are correct, but I bet you he'll go Wikipedia that thing now that I've said it. Let's see. CBE Bop 5 says, Bryant, my question is, what is the difference between real authentic love and having chemistry? I feel like society places a lot of emphasis on having a spark and hitting it all. God, that is like 8 cliches right behind you. So, look, we overcomplicate things. Human beings are hilarious. Like, we oversimplify things that are supposed to be more complicated, and then we complicate the simple stuff. Like, it's just simply, do you get along with one another? And think about your friends. Think about the people in your life that you like. Forget about romance. The friends you have. Picture them in your mind. Right? Okay, cool. Now picture the people that get on your nerves, right? And there's somebody that gets on your nerves. It's got to be, unless you're just cooler than all of us. So real authentic love is like, love is patience, it's kindness, it's rendering people the proper respect and dignity that they are due as human beings. It's putting them before yourself. That is real authentic love. Okay? It's not a thing that you feel. It's not a spark or hitting it off. Okay? Love is choosing. And this is the way I always frame it. I love everyone. I do. Now, I love people to differing degrees. Obviously, I love my wife. In other words, I place value on my wife much higher than a lot of other people I'm around. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean I don't love other people. Now, I don't like everybody. There are people who get on my nerves, but that feeling has nothing to do with love. The people who piss me off or get on my nerves, I still treat them with dignity and respect to the degree that I'm capable or willing. I'm always capable, right? So the difference is you're talking about choosing to love someone and whether or not you get along. That's the spark or the hitting it off. Like, is someone like, when you meet a friend and you're cool and it's like, this is a good fit as a friend. That's what hitting it off is. It's two people who are wired to get along really well. And the people that annoy you, I guarantee you can tie annoying people to certain social and personality traits, and the people that you really get along with to certain social and personality traits. There you go. Good question, by the way. All right. Theorizing says, thanks for the good advice. Nicole Renee says, thank you. Okay, no problem. She says, I'm nervous now. It's okay. Don't be nervous. You're good. Matt Cooling, or is it Cooling, says, hey, real question. Can I fall in love with a piece of fruit like a pineapple? No, but you can get the hell on, though. That's what you can do tonight, funny man. Night. Let's see. Samuel Hunter says, enjoy your age. Okay, he's talking to the other folks. Johnny Ramos says, where's my slice of pizza? All right, Easy Math says, how do I know if romantic relationships are for me? I've never had one, and I'm doing all right. Well, I guess the first place you could start is, do you want to have one? And for example, in your dream about how your life plays out, do you want to have children? Because you're probably going to need a relationship. I mean, technically you could adopt children too. So it's just, do you want one? A relationship. So when you look at the purpose of a relationship, it's two people coming together to accomplish life better than they could separately. So with that comes goodness, but with it comes also other stressors. Now you have someone, before I was married, I was only responsible for me. Now that I'm married and I have children, I'm responsible for other people, and my wife too. She's responsible for me and other people. When she was single, so she didn't have that stress when she was single. But she also knew that she wanted to have children, and she wanted to have it the natural way, et cetera, et cetera. So being in a relationship was necessary for that. And she also wanted to have a husband and enjoy him. I wanted to have a wife and enjoy her. So you just have to decide if it's something that you want. That's where I'd start. Smiling Bandito. But it's actually, let me encourage you, the fact that you're okay single is a good thing, because that means you won't make desperate short game decisions. You'll make, if you do ever decide to be in a relationship, you'll make good decisions because you're not pressed to be in a relationship. Smiling Bandito said, I think Renee had asked about being able to communicate with her husband who had anger issues and was insecure. Yeah, that's right. He was sensitive. That's correct. Nicole says, thanks. I want to say every time that I'm here, I am pleased of how I can clean and non-spam your chat. Well, that's just because my chat isn't huge yet. Just wait till there's 1,000 people here. The spam will come riding in. But I appreciate that. Thank you for the compliment. So going back to Renee's question, it's hard for me to answer that with a simple answer because I don't have enough of the context surrounding your relationship. So I too have, so my wife, for example, doesn't take criticism as easy as I do. She's a bit more sensitive to it, but it doesn't mean that she can't take it. So when I'm working with her, I have to very much lay the groundwork for her to understand, like, look, the thing that I'm about to share with you, it is going to be a critique, but it's not a hit against you. It's not, I'm not disappointed or frustrated or angry or sad. I just want to make sure you know this so that going forward, we can both be more awesome. Right? So I'll frame the criticism with her. Like with me, you can just, my wife could be like, yo, your breath stinks, son. Brush them teeth. Because I do that to my baby because he's now starting to get teeth. And I'll be like, yo, dude, did you brush your teeth this morning? Because your breath is hitting. Now, obviously, the baby can't brush his teeth. I'm joking. But she gets a little sense like, babe, he can't brush his teeth. Like, no kidding, Sherlock. I get it. Like, I'm having fun with my son. Go to bed. Right, so she's a little bit more sensitive than me. But I learned how to speak her language. You know, and I don't give all the criticism. Sometimes I keep it to myself. I keep the criticism to myself if I don't 100% believe that sharing it with her is going to benefit her as well as I. Right? So if it's just a criticism, that's something that I can kind of get over. You know, it's not really a big deal. And it's me sharing it. Like if my litmus test for sharing criticism is this going to make her life better? Not just mine. Is it going to make her life better? If it is, then I'm willing to, because she'll, you know, sometimes be a little bit bruised. And timing works too. Like with her, it has to be good timing. Like she's having a rough day and you're bringing the criticism when she's already been beat down all day by the children. It's just not a good look. So because you know your situation better than I can't really give you specifics. But you can also have this conversation with your husband to say, hey, look, I understand that you have challenges with anger. I'm assuming he's aware of that or he's been diagnosed. So it's a conversation that you can have without it being awkward. And just, hey, whenever I want to share something with you that I think is going to make us both stronger, I just want you to know, even if it comes across as criticism or negative, it's really not. I just want us both to be stronger. You know, so if I'm sharing something that may sound a little bit like criticism, it's more just me trying to help both of us become stronger because I'm not perfect either. So there's some things that you can do in your language. Like there's things when I'm working with my wife or my mother, who's even more sensitive than my wife, I'm very encouraging when I'm levying a critique, right? Like I don't necessarily walk on eggshells because I don't think that's honest, but I will be a lot more careful with my language when I'm talking to people who are like with me. You just be like, dude, a breath mint, son. Your breath is hitting. Oh, my bad. Cool. Let me go get a breath mint. Because I don't have those sensitivities. But my mom and my wife do. So I have to be a little bit more careful in the way that I choose my words. And so Nicole says, maybe I'll write a note instead of, I think that's what she said, maybe I'll write a note instead of talking about certain things. Now, the only problem with a note, and like I said, you know the situation better than me, is things can get lost. Like there can be nuance and meaning behind what you're trying to say that doesn't come across in writing, right? But you know the situation better than me. The bottom line is that you need to set the foundation of love, respect, and safe. When you critique, it has to be in a safe place where the people don't feel like they're getting beat down. They feel like they're being lifted up. You know, I remember one of my instructors and my mentors on the military side when I was a cadet. He had to pull me aside and square me away. And what he was sharing with me wasn't easy to hear. Because I can take criticism pretty well, and I think I handled it pretty well, but it was hard, like, because he ripped me apart. And, you know, as a person who's very competitive with myself and who wants to always be the best at all the stuff that I do, it was hard to be like, to hear him. But he framed it with, you are already good. You'd be way better if you'd stop being a freaking clown. Like, leave the clown at home, just be you, and these people will follow you into the pits of hell. Like, stop trying to be cool and just be you is basically what he was telling me. And he was pretty hard on me. But it got me in the right frame of mind to be like, yeah, he's right. I need to mature. And he was basically telling me I needed to grow up. And it wasn't easy to hear, but he framed it in a way that was, I'm helping you become a stronger man. if you listen to what I'm saying, you'll become a better man. And I did. He's partially responsible for who I am today. Okay, let's go back up because some more questions came in. Wow, I missed a lot of questions. Anyway, Jolly will get me caught up on questions I've missed. Let's go to Latasha Gibson. I don't have issues getting out, but find that I have little in common with people at many meetup groups. How do I pursue compatible people without getting burned out? So, think about, and meetup is excellent, but are you going to meetups that are centered around something you are interested in? For example, let's say you're really into Game of Thrones. Are you going to Game of Thrones meetups? Because chances are, if you go to a meetup where there's people who like what you like, there's a good chance they will be in some ways like you, right? Like there's a good friend of mine that I work with who we just get into these great discussions about movies because he and I share a very similar outlook on film and things that we enjoy, more so than probably anybody else I know. And this is a relative, and I've known him for years, I guess, but us talking frequently is more of a recent thing. And we'll just share like Star Wars and why the Star Trek movies kind of sucked and they could have been better. And he'll introduce me to things that I didn't think of. I'm like, oh man, that's right. I hate that movie now too. But the point is, he and I have a lot in common because we have a lot of common beliefs and ideas, right? And we're very similar dispositions in terms of our temperament. And, I'm probably a little bit more crazy and loud than he is. He's kind of more reserved and cool. He's like that smooth cat, like the Marlboro Man from the old cigarette commercial. God, I'm so old. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. But the point is, are you going to meetups where the people are interested in something that you're interested in, or are you just going to meetups? Because chances are, it sounds to me like you're not a highly social person unless you're in a group of people that are social the way you're social. I can relate to that. So if you're just going to like the happy hour meetup, you're going to get the people who are socializing for the sake of socializing. And it sounds to me, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds to me like you want a deeper connection than just superficial chit chat, which is what most social events are, which is why I hate them. Because it's just, so how's your golf swing, Bob? Like, I don't give a flying, right? So find something that you're really deeply interested in and then try to find a meetup related to that. Because that's where I think you'll find people who are more like you versus like going to happy hour or couples frisbee. Like nobody going to that. Like all the dudes are going there to get laid. All the chicks are going there to be with each other. Like not sexually, but the chicks are going there to hang out. And the dude, it's no. You don't need to go to couples frisbee. Right? It just go find a thing that you're really, really interested in. And you'll probably find people there that you can better connect with. And that way you won't get burnt out. Okay. Jolly says, let's say I get advances from a woman that I know is far in life with goals and such, but I feel I wouldn't have anything to really offer her that would create a lasting relationship because I feel behind. Does that mean I'm intimidated and need to grow a pair? Dude, I love this question. The answer is no. If the woman is attracted to you, it's for one of two reasons. And I believe she's attracted to you because she sees the potential. So let me be clear. Everything that I put down on my list that I wanted my wife to be, she did not show up on my doorstep with all of those things firing on all cylinders. Nor did I show up with all of mine firing on all cylinders. She was interested in Morris Chestnut. If you don't know who he is, ladies, look him up. You're welcome because he is violently handsome. And I'm not just talking from seeing him in the movies. He and I have actually worked together on a project before. And I was looking at him like, dang, no wonder my wife likes this dude. Like, man, this dude is sexy. And I'm as a man saying that in my mind, like this brother. And anyway, she was really like, she had a crush on Morris Chestnut. I don't look anything. I look like The Rock, Will Smith, and Lawrence Fishburne got put into a replicator and came out as one person. So, Morris Chestnut isn't happening right here. But even though she didn't come with everything intact, I knew she had the potential to be those things, as well as I had the potential to be what she was dreaming about. So what she's probably seeing in you is the potential, and more importantly than the potential, because potential is great, but if you have no drive, you'll never reach the potential. She probably sees in you the will to become what she wants to be with. So no, I would not take that as you needing to grow a pair. I think it's right to question, why is someone that's so far ahead of me attracted to me? It also may mean that she has some insecurities, and maybe she wants to have somebody that she feels is not a challenge to her, and that could be a problem. That was the second one. Okay, so no. You have no problem having a pair, sir. You're good. I was taught when I made that video, and so Jolly's talking about a video that I shot yesterday, which has gotten a lot of love. It's not on YouTube. It's exclusively on Facebook, because I was like, nope, I'm not even putting this on YouTube because I'm not wasting time getting 130 views when it should have millions, and will eventually have millions thanks to Facebook. When I was talking about guys growing a pair, it's the bitchy dudes that are like, oh, she's just the dudes that are calling a woman the B word because she's strong, not because she's mean. Like the dude is like, I can't be with her. She just thinks she's all that. Well, go do some push-ups and throw yourself out. No, let me stop. I want to promote people harming themselves on my channel. But the point is, you're fine, brother. You are A-okay. Timing is everything. Nicole says, maybe I'll write a note. Samuel Hunter says, Bryant, are there techniques for highly sensitive people to effectively deal/interact with people who might not be selective in their words? Yes, communicate and be honest with them. Because here's the deal. My son, I believe, may potentially be a highly sensitive person. One of my sons, not all of them. And actually, as he gets older, I think it's less true. I think it just has to do with the fact that he's a child. But yes, you can be very honest with a person and say, hey, and this is conflict management 101. I don't know why. This is the crap that should be taught in schools, for God's sake. Not Archduke Francis Ferdinand starting World War I. This is why I get so frustrated with schools. So be honest with the person and say, listen, when you say things like, fill in the blank, those things make me feel, fill in the blank. Okay, so what you've done there is you've addressed the behavior and you've given the behavior a result. Instead of what most people do when they go into conflict is they'll say, you made me feel insecure. Well, that's impossible. Another human being can't make you feel insecure. You're choosing it because of the actions they took. When you address the action, you make it not personal, and it's not an attack. It's a desire to say, look, I value our friendship, our relationship, but when you talk in this fill in the blank way, it makes me feel fill in the blank, and I'd really appreciate it, because I am a highly sensitive person, if you could find a way to soften the blow a little bit. My wife does that with me. She's like, you are one of the most direct people I've ever met in my life, and sometimes when you say things, they cut deep. And where we've kind of met in the middle is, okay, I'll be a little bit more careful with my words, but you have to understand that when I cut deep, I'm not trying to cut. Anything I say, and I have to tell my son this all the time, anything I say to you is intended to make you stronger. It's intended to toughen you up. It's intended to give you information that you didn't have. So if you turn that into, oh, that made me feel like I'm less of a person, wrong answer. If you were less of a person, I wouldn't even talk to you. I just wouldn't address you. But I'm caring enough about you to insert something into your life that I think is going to help you. And yes, the way that I present it can be cutting, but it's not intended to hurt. I have no desire to hurt another human being. It hurts me when I know I've hurt somebody deeply. You know, as my personality often gets kind of characterized as insensitive, nothing could be further from the truth. We're highly aware of when we piss people off or make them feel bad. We're usually aware of it before you even get angry, like we see it happening. But not about me, about you. Just be honest. And just help them learn the language they need to speak to be able to deal with you. I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit here, if you guys are okay with that. All right, nothing wrong with being honest about that. I think you'll be fine. Great question. Let's see. Renee says, it's just general life. Let's see. David's Den says, uh-oh. Jolly, help me out, man. My screen just jumped forward like 40 people. I left off on David's Den's question. Can you cut and paste me at the bottom, brother? I'm gonna move on. Avenger DX says, hell, I've been with the same woman for 15 years. We don't always see eye to eye, and we're having a tough time. But what we are doing is respecting each other and managing to get it done. There you go. That's not love anymore. That's just respect and understanding, which I think is a thought. But that is love. That's my whole point of this video, is what you are doing is real love. It's respecting other people. It's putting their needs before your own. That's love, my brother. You figured it out. That's why you're still together. Kudos. Red Venom says, will this be uploaded? Don't have much time to watch. It will eventually. I'm going to delete it. Once it's finished rendering, I'm going to delete it and then re-upload it, because YouTube is YouTube. I won't go into the nerdy explanation for why I'm doing it that way. But yes, it will eventually be uploaded. Kai Spinjutsu says, hey BC, just barely made it again. Hello Kai, welcome. Marcus Vincent says, us sensitives need to expose ourselves to criticism. Sometimes criticism is just wrong. Oh, I think I may have lost Jolly. So I missed David's Den. Cut and paste your question for me, my friend. DX says, it's a point I've discovered over the years that a lot of people I've spoken with have missed. And school can't teach you emotions. I think school can totally teach you emotions. One, they can teach you that emotions are actually biological and that feelings are driven by psychology and thought. We don't talk about those things in school because they're hard to explain, but just because they're hard to explain doesn't mean we shouldn't try. We'd rather build curriculums that are still based on kids going to work in factories that won't exist in 20 years. Don't get me started on my school soapbox. Not tonight. I want to be happy. But I get where you're coming from. I'm not trying to disagree with you. Latasha Gibson says, even AP psychology does a poor job of describing personality and behavior. Of course. I mean, these curriculums in these school... I'm staying off my soapbox tonight. I'm not gonna pull out my soapbox, girl. I'm gonna leave it up under my desk, and my wife's home. Just heard her come in. All right, David's Den says, as in 27 ESTP, college degree, and my girlfriend 23 INFP, college degree. We're planning to move in after 3 years. Any advice? Don't. I don't know. So here's the challenge with really general questions like that. I don't know enough about you two to really tell you anything. When you move in together, some things will change. Because your life living in separate houses is now going to live in one house. You're going to have to learn how to get along with one another and how each other does things differently, like practical stuff like laundry and dishes and how you like to keep things, and having a wife that wants shoes to go into a closet versus being by the door, or whatever. So little things like that are going to change. So I guess if you want general advice, just be flexible. It's one of the key components of a happy relationship, more so than personality or any of this other psycho babble that we talk about on this channel all the time, that people are trying to figure out what's the mathematical formula to be happy. Nope, isn't one. Just be flexible. It's simple. Be flexible and count others as greater than yourself. You do those two things, you'll never not be happy in any situation. I can tie every unhappy situation I've been in to me putting myself before other people. 100% of the time. 100% of the time. Well, not 100% of the time. Sometimes I was just abused or mistreated, but still. Marcus Vincent says, Bryant, I have a deep love of learning, but have always hated the structure and rigidity of school. There has to be a better way. There are better ways. Look at every program on my website and figure out which ones suit your goals. And if I don't have a program that suits your goals, I can recommend you some people that do. There's so much online education out there that crushes. So my mentor runs a program, for example. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to share it. I need to ask him because he was running it as a private pilot. But so he's one of my business mentors, and he's the one that's taken me from kind of experimental, trying to figure it out marketer to this is how the big boys do it. Like, this dude knows people. And going through his course has given me, and now granted, some of it is stuff that I've learned already in business and learned in the military and learned in Fortune 500, but there's other things he's added to my knowledge base that I didn't have, right? And there's so many people out there doing it and doing it well. Now granted, there's also online courses that suck really bad, especially when you look at how much they cost, and even some of them I've been in would be bad free. Like, this is just a waste. I could have figured this part out without a course. But yeah, I would totally start with the programs on my website. Here you go. I'll paste it again. Here you go. Now, let me just give you to my general website, not to the marriage program. But you can go to my website, see what's there. If any of those suit your fancy, let me know. Shoot me a message on Facebook if you have questions, or you can shoot me an email. But if what you're looking for isn't there, tell me what you are looking for, and I'll put you on to one of my mentors, and you can get into their programs. Because you're right, I've learned more. My point was I've learned more from my mentors than I ever would have learned in school, or that I ever did learn in school. I learned more from working with programmers in my business than I learned as a computer scientist in school. So it's just easier to work with people when you're working with them instead of open your books to page 13 and let's read how Archduke Francis Ferdinand's assassination led to the World War. Diamond Tree says, how much longer will this be? As long as you all make it. My part's already done. Johnny Ramos asks, do you have a book recommendation? Book recommendation on what specifically? I have, as you can see, I have hundreds, if not thousands, of book recommendations, friend. Tell me what you're looking for, and I'll let you know if I have a recommendation. And you can see my messy, I'm looking at it on YouTube now. That's hilarious. All right. Thanks, brother, says Marcus Vincent. Always. It's my pleasure. Maggie Mosby made it. What's up, Maggie? Hey, BC. Sorry I'm so late. I was just wondering how I could deal the difference between ENFJ and ENTJ. Can you also explain the traits of unhealthy ENFJs and unhealthy ENTJs? So yeah, real simple. The difference is they are the reverse of one another. So for example, my wife is an ENFJ. I know I listed her as an ENFP on an earlier video. I was wrong. And going back and correcting it doesn't make sense in the title because I say ENFP throughout the entire video. But my wife is an ENFJ, for example, leads, if Myers-Briggs is to be believed, I think it's at least 15 or 20% accurate. But the bottom line is she's going to lead with feeling. I mean, that means extroverted feeling, which means she's going to lead with decisions that, how does this decision affect the disposition of the group? I'm going to lead with decisions as a thinker that are about outcomes and efficiency, which sometimes is going to make people uncomfortable. My wife is a lot of times going to have an issue with that. There's times where she'll say, "Hey, you're being a little bit too tough on the kids," and I'm like, "No, they need to be tough. They need to toughen up." And so it's a good balance because we meet in the middle. If you're talking about unhealthy ENA, I mean, unhealthy is unhealthy regardless of what your personality type is. Period. Like, if you look at unhealthy people, they could be unhealthy